this unit we'll be looking at the biosphere. Remember, bio means life, so we're looking at the biosphere, we're looking at all living things. So this is really more of a biology unit. So if you look at these pictures, what do all of these people have in common? Well, they all have in common, they are all in a relationship. So that's what we are going to look at today, is relationships. So ecosystems are an area where a community of species live and interact with their environment. Again, it's all about the relationship they have with that specific place, and the relationship they have with other species. And so we're going to break that down a little bit more. So what do we mean by environment? Well, an environment is made up of two things. One is called the biotic factor. Again, as I've just said, bio means life. So biotic factors are living things. Examples would be a tree, a squirrel, a bird, grass, flower, monkey, anything that's alive, that is considered a biotic factor. Abiotic, A means not. So this is not living. Now, this is not the same as saying something that's living that has died, but something that is just a non-living thing, such as a rock or the air or water, sunlight, temperature, things like that. Those are all considered your abiotic factors. So both biotic and abiotic factors put together is the environment. We're going to now look at the different levels of organization within the ecosystem. It goes from the single individual all the way out to the biosphere. So your first level is a species. When we talk about a species, we are looking at a single individual of that particular species. In order for two individuals to be considered to be from the same species, they have to be very similar to one another, but they have to be able to reproduce with one another and create a fertile offspring. Now, what does fertile mean? Fertile means that that particular offspring or that baby would be able to go on and have more babies once it got older. So let's look at an example. If you have a horse and a donkey, and they're very similar, but if you put them together and they had offspring, which they technically can, then what they would create is a mule. Horse and a donkey are considered to not be the same species because mules are not fertile. So they have to naturally, in their own habitat, come together, be able to have offspring that are fertile. And so that's just what we're looking at with your species. Then you have a population. A population is a group of individuals from the same species. So when we're looking at your species, you're looking at one individual. That's what we're looking at. And then the definition of a species is organisms that are similar with that can produce fertile offspring. A population is going to be more than one. So it's two or more, but they are of the same species. So a single bear would be an individual in the of a particular species. A group of bears, so if I had 10 bears together, that then would become the population. Our next level of organization is your community. So this is more than one population put together. So we have a group of bears, a group of birds, a group of worms, a group of squirrels. So we have multiple populations all together. And then to make it an ecosystem, you have all the different communities plus their abiotic factors. So if we look here, you're looking at the communities of the coral reef, you're looking at the communities of the different algae, of the seaweed, and of all the different communities of fish. But the abiotic factor is going to be the pH of the water, the temperature of the water itself, rocks that are around, sand that's there, all of those things that are non-living. And then our very last level of organization is the biosphere, and that is all of the living things on Earth. So let's go ahead and build our own ecosystem. So first we have to start out with a species. So let's say that we are going to start out with a bird. So here is our species of our single bird. Now in order to make that a population, we have to have more than one of the same species. So that means we have to have two birds. So my one bird was a species, and now that I have two birds, it is now a population. In order to make it a community, we have to add a couple of populations of other organisms, such as worms. So now we have a community that I had to redraw, but we have my population of birds, a population of worms, a population of trees, and a population of little beetles, and all together they make a community. In order to make this into an ecosystem, Oh no, my thing went away. So in order to make this into an ecosystem, oh no, why does it keep doing that? We have to add our abiotic factors. I can't draw this on here because my computer's doing weird things. But in order to make it an abiotic or an ecosystem, abiotic factors we could add would be the sunlight, rain, or dirt. And you do not get to see my beautiful drawings because I don't understand what's going on with my computer. So let's go ahead and clear the screen so we can move on from this. Okay. That's what we just did. So here is our couple of vocabulary. A habitat is simply the home where individuals live. So it's just that particular place or environment. And then we have something called a niche. Niche is the role an organism plays. It's considered like its job. And no two species can share the same niche. So, for example, you may have all of these birds that you see in the picture to the right that have the same habitat. For example, let's just all say they live in the tropical rainforest. However, they all have to have a different niche, and you can tell they have a different niche because of the beaks that they have. So some of their niche, when you're looking at the job or the role, it can be the things that they eat and different things they do within the environment. So the reason they can't have the same niche is because, say, all these birds living in the same place, if they all ate the exact same food source, there would not be enough food for all of them to survive. So instead, over time, these birds evolved to have different shaped beaks designed to eat different things. Some eat fish, some eat little things they filter from the water, some eat seeds, some eat from pollen from flowers, or nectar from flowers, things like that. So they all have different beaks to allow them to eat different foods. Therefore, they all have a different niche. So even though they live in the same area, they have a different food source, which allows them to all live together in one place. Now, this video, if you click on it, is a very interesting video. It talks about the difference in a niche and an environment. And I do recommend watching it. My class last semester thought it was absolutely hilarious. So I do advise you, just if you're looking for something that may be kind of interesting or give you a good laugh, just click on that and it will give you a good explanation of what a niche versus habitat is, while hopefully giving you a couple of chuckles as well. But let's keep going. Reginal is the thing from the video, so you have to watch it in order to know. So if you do watch it, Reginald's habitat is going to be a swamp. And then his niche is that he's going to be a top carnivore, meaning he eats a lot of different things. He takes care of his young, and he lives in a hollowed out area. But please go back and watch that video so you can understand this a little bit better. We have water ecosystems, and really all you need to know about this is there's two different kinds. There's freshwater, and then there's marine. When you're looking at the marine ecosystem, that's anything within salt water. So brain break. If you were an animal, what animal would you be? Well, if I was an animal, I think I would be a bunny. People told me that I just remind them of a bunny for some reason, and I think bunnies are kind of cute and fun, so that's what I would pick. Okay, so when we look at systems, we talked about this in Unit 1. Systems are things that interact with one another. So if you affect one part of a system, you are going to affect another part of it. It may take a while for it to have that effect, but anytime you impact one part of it, you will impact another part. And so that's what we're looking at. If you affect one part of an ecosystem, you're going to change the rest. And we see that in ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is when the ocean water becomes more acidic, like an acid. And a big way that the oceans are becoming acidic is because of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide pollution not only causes global warming, but the ocean actually absorbs that carbon dioxide, and then it will make carbonic acid. And when you have the carbonic acid, it prevents different organisms that usually have a shell, like a lobster or a shrimp or coral reefs, for example. It deteriorates the shells. This is just showing you a picture on top of if a shell is put in acidic water, how it would eventually look, and by day 45 you can see it's pretty much dissolving. So this has a big impact because it affects things within the food chain. It also can affect things that don't necessarily have shells. There are some organisms that rely on enzymes. Enzymes are little proteins in the body that have different jobs, and if the ocean water is too acidic, it kills the enzymes. And so fish like, from Finding Nemo, clownfish that usually use enzymes to protect them from the anemone, or however you say it, they no longer can be protected from it if they don't have those enzymes. But the biggest issue is that ocean acidification is killing coral reefs. Coral reefs are the part of the ocean that are home to some of the most diverse parts of the ocean, period. So 25% of all marine life is going to be supported based on things that occur within the coral reefs. They are the foundation of the ocean's food chain. So if you kill the coral reefs, then you're going to affect 25% of the ocean life directly, and then have further direct effects from there on out. It also is where we get different things to create different medicines, and they help weaken waves that protect a lot of smaller island countries. And plus, you want Finding Nemo or Nemo and his dad, Marvin, to be happy. We will skip that brain break, and next we are going to talk about connectors within your ecosystems and our food chains, but I will save that for our next video.